So today is March 13th, and we're studying the perimeter of circular regions. First, who can tell me the definition of circumference? Okay, Brian.
The distance around a circle.
Distance around a circle. What would be the definition of perimeter then? Perimeter. When you think about any shape.
Distance around something.
Distance around any shape, right? So now we're going to have circular regions where we will have a curved side and a straight side. In fact, I'm going to change the color on that. A straight side, and it's a circular region. Perimeter is the sum of all the sides. You might find it helpful to use color today to make sure you're using all of the sides and adding them up. Okay. This one says find the perimeter of the semicircular region. What does semicircle mean? Who can tell me what kind of a shape do I have here, Maya? How much of it? 1/2. Okay, so let's make a game plan. We need to find the perimeter. We need to find the distance around this shape. What would be the first thing we should find, Richard? Okay, we should find the circumference, and then do what with it? Do we want the whole circumference, Isha? We want half of it because we have half of a circle. We want half of the circumference. Once we find that, then what are we going to do to find our answer, Robin? No, because that would just get us back to the whole circumference. What would we do once we have half of the circumference? We have the red part of our shape. Isha, what are we going to do?
We have to add 1 meter.
We're going to add the, what's that called?
Base.
The base, in this case, is the what of the circle? Diameter. See, that 4 is a diameter. If you continued the circle, that 4 is very important. All right, because it's the diameter of the circle. All right, so first let's find the circumference. We know we have to take pi times diameter. Who can tell me what to fill in, please? How about Malik? We're using 3.14 for pi.
X equals 3.14 times 4.
Okay, and when I multiply 3.14 times 4, I get 12.56. All right, so that is the whole circle. So what do we need to find, Akash?
Oh, you have to...
Good. So if the whole circle is 12.56, half of the circumference is going to be 6.28. All right, so that's my one part. Now, if I want my perimeter, we already said we have to take our halves of the circumference and add on the straight side, because those two sides make up the whole shape. So we're going to take half of the circumference plus the diameter. You can fill in those values for me. How about Christian?
Okay. So perimeter equals 6.28 plus 4, which equals 6.28.
Good. 6.28 plus 4. The perimeter of this shape, the straight sides plus the curved sides, all together is 10.28 meters. And this is exactly how your work should look. Okay, so in example 2, it wants us to find the circumference of these circles and leave it in terms of pi. So this is something a little bit different. All right, in the past, what is 2x plus 4x in general? So apart from this, 2x plus 4x, kids, is 6x, right? And x is a variable. We can kind of do that with pi. We can leave pi, instead of either using 3.14, or what's that fraction we use? 22 sevenths. Now we're going to learn that the third way we can leave it is just with pi. All right, let me show you what I mean. All right, so the smaller circle here, we have c equals pi times diameter, right? If I'm filling in my values and it wants me to just use pi, I take pi times 3. How do I simplify? If I had x times 3, we bring out the 3 to the what? To the front. That's where the coefficient goes, right? So who can simplify this for me, Akash?
3 pi.
Good. So this is 3 pi meters. And that would be what is like when it says leave your answer in terms of pi. So about how many meters is this? It's about how much, Madison? 9, right? Because pi is about 3 times the diameter, which is 3, so it's about 9 meters. All right, what I want you to do with your table mate is do the second circle. Go. Okay, so hopefully you used 2 pi r, and then you did 2 times pi times 6.1, and then what did you get with your answer in terms of pi, Lily?
12.2 pi.
12.2 pi centimeters. Good. About how many centimeters is this circle? About how many, Maya?
6.5.
Sure. Or you could just say 36. 12 times 3, right? But it's going to be a little bit more than that because 3.14 and also 12.2. Okay, good. All right, let's move on to our next example. So, actually, let's go back to the first example. This was a shape. Okay, it was a shape. We had to add up all the sides. Example 3 says find the length of the curve. Now, in your workbook, it's going to have a dotted line here instead of a solid line, and that's how you'll know, and also the keyword of curve. So we're only looking for the curved part. We're not adding the straight sides and the curved sides. All right, let's play I Spy. I spy how many circles? Who can tell me how many circles we see? Robin. Who agrees with 1.5 circles? All right, excellent. So, if we need 1.5 circles, what could be our game plan? What could be our game plan here, Madison?
Find half of the circumference and then just multiply it by 3.
You could find half of the circumference and multiply by 3. What else could we do? What else could we do, Ryan?
Find the whole circumference and then divide that by 2 and take it.
Good. Find the whole circumference, and then find half the circumference, right? And then add them up, all right? So kind of like 10%, 5%, 15%, right? Whole, half, 1.5. All right, let's do that. Let's find the circumference. We are given what? Do we have a diameter or a radius here, Isha? What is the 10?
That's it.
That's our diameter. See how it goes from one side of the circle to the other. Okay, this is the diameter. So we're going to use pi times diameter. All right, who can fill in? And we're leaving it in terms of pi. Who can fill in my values for me? How about Richard? All right, so the circumference of one whole circle is 10 pi. All right, and that is the whole circle. One whole circle. So I've got this part done, and I've got this part done. I've got 2 of my semicircles done. All right, who can tell me what we should do now? Isha?
We can just divide that.
And what would you get to divide that? Okay, so half, the remaining part here is going to be half of that. Because it's a semicircle. It's half of a circle. That is 5 pi. There's half of the circle. All right, what could we do now to find our answer, Malik?
Add them.
We're going to add them to get 1.5 of the circumference, or 1.5 circles, gives us a total of what, kids? 15 pi what? Centimeters, which is about how many centimeters, Dave, if you know it?
45.
45. Okay, sorry, I forgot to write this in here. I spy 1.5 circles. All right, so that is our answer for that one. Okay. You do not have this on your paper, but I want you to use the shape, and I want you to use all of the information given here to find the perimeter of this shape with your table mate using pi equals 22/7. Now, before we start, is this part of the perimeter right here? No, it is not. It is not part of the perimeter. So you need to figure out what you have, what you need to add up. You need to make a game plan and solve it algebraically. Go. All right, first let's discuss what do we have here. What do we have that we need to add up? Maya. Okay, so we have some straight sides here. Okay, I've got a straight side of 30 plus another straight side of 30. Good. What else do I need to add? What else do I need to add? Isha, don't tell me the answer, just tell me what shape.
You need to add the circumference of a full circle.
Good. See how this is a semicircle here, and the other semicircle is here. So it together makes one whole circle with a diameter of what? 14. Right? So first let's find that circumference. The circle is pi times diameter. It says leave it, 22 sevenths. So we use 22 sevenths times what?
14.
So 22 times 2 kids is 44. All right? That means that the curved sides are 44. Or separately, this one's 22, right? And this one is 22. All right? So if I add my perimeter, it's going to be my circumference plus my straight sides? Straight sides. Okay. Who can tell me what we're going to add here? What are we going to add here, Hannah?
60 is 44.
Good. I've got 44 plus 60 for sum, or the sum of all of the sides together, everybody, is 104 centimeters.